All right, this one's gonna ruffle some feathers. All right, first off, in the very beginning of this video, I am going to be talking more along the lines of voiceover work, but I will get to other uses for this microphone for like content creators and YouTubers and podcasters and things like that. But right now, I just want to talk about voiceover stuff. So if you're a voice actor, you need to listen to the beginning of this video, especially to understand where I'm coming from. But if you have no want to do voiceover at all, you just want to do podcasts or content creation like a YouTuber or something like that, you can go ahead and skip. But if you're a voice actor or if you're thinking about doing voice acting, you really need to watch this part of the video. So if you don't watch the first part of this video, you're going to miss key information that is crucial to you understanding the truth about this microphone and where I'm coming from when I talk about this microphone. Now, let me start by saying if you don't watch the entire video, it will be painfully obvious and I will just ignore you. But if you watch this entire video and you leave me a comment and you want to have a nice, peaceful, open discussion about this microphone, I am more than happy to have an open dialogue with you. But if you open your comment with some kind of ridiculous passive-aggressive statement, I'm just going to ignore you.
No one has time for that.
If you're one of those people with your mind already made up, you know everything, you have nothing else to learn, just go ahead and stop watching this video right now.
We all don't have time for you.
Let's please just keep everything nice and friendly in the comments section, and let's all be open to learning new things. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, let's start with why should you believe anything I say? Whether it's about this microphone or just audio in general. This is a question you should always be asking with any type of content you watch, whether it's YouTube or really just any platform whatsoever. What credentials does this person have that I am watching? And why would that make them an expert in this field or trustworthy? So with me, let's start with the fact that I've been an on-camera actor and a voice actor for many, many, many years. And that's definitely not enough to solidify any of the advice I'm about to give, but I wanted to start there just to let everyone know that I've been on the receiving end of casting directors and agents and everything in between for many years now, and I know exactly what they're asking for and what they're not asking for. So I just wanted to start with that. But more importantly, I'm an audio engineer, a video content creator, and instructor for one of the top voiceover studios in the Southeast. We've done jobs for Call of Duty, Disney, Amazon, Adult Swim, Coca-Cola, Marvel, McDonald's, Google, Chick-fil-A, just to name a few. I say all of that just to make it clear that we work with some of the top clients, agents, studios, and companies in the industry. We follow the industry standards just like the big agencies, clients, and studios and talents do across the board. In other words, we don't make the industry standards, we just follow them like everybody else does in the industry. But that's how that works. The biggest agencies or companies or clients, they make the industry standards, and over a long period of time, everybody else falls into line, and that is just what becomes the industry standard. Now, this next part tends to offend people, and I have no idea why, but in this video, I'm not talking about hobbyists. I'm talking about voice actors that want this to be their career. They want this to be the only job they have. They don't want to have to work a secondary job or maybe even a third job just to make ends meet. They want voiceover to be what gives them the money and the freedom to be able to live the life they want to live. People who want to compete with the other top talent in the industry for all of the best jobs. Now, this is where it offends people because I'm not talking about hobbyists who just do this because it's fun and because they enjoy it. I don't understand why that offends people because there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing this as a hobby, because if you enjoy voice acting, if you're doing it because it's fun, what's wrong with that? People do a bunch of stuff just because it's fun and they don't want to make a career out of it. Maybe they don't want the stress of making it have to be what makes their money and what gives them the life they want to live. Maybe they just want to do it for fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. I need to make this clarification and this distinction so that hobbyists aren't watching this video thinking that they now need to go out and make sure their home studio is professionally treated and they don't need to use a SHURE SM7B, so now they got to go buy another microphone. They don't need to do any of that because they don't need to worry about adhering to the industry standards because they're just doing it for fun because they enjoy it. And I don't want them going out and spending money they don't need to spend and stressing when they don't need to stress. They just want to do this because it's fun, and I don't want to take that away from those people. And let me even further clarify, the industry standard way doesn't make it the only way or the only right way. It's just the standard the industry has set. That's it. Yes, there are multiple ways to do these things and to record audio, and there are multiple correct ways, but in order for you to succeed in this industry, you definitely want to make sure you're doing it the way the industry has set. And that's just the way it is. So I'm not here telling you this is the only way to do it, but I'm just telling you what the industry has specified to be the way they want you to do it, whether that's right or not, or whether it could be done better. And another clarification I need to make is, what is voiceover? A lot of people also get offended because I say the Shure SM7B wasn't made for voiceover, and they immediately respond with, yeah, but it's used in podcasting, film and TV, radio uses it all the time, etc. And I totally understand the confusion. I mean, before I got into voiceover, I would have said the same thing. I would have been like, well, wait, it's used in all of those different areas. But the thing is, this goes back to the industry standard. If you're in this industry, you will learn quickly that voiceover is not podcasting, and it is not radio, and it is not film and TV. It is a very, very niche thing. And there's a bunch of, ways that it can separate out into that niche. But voiceover isn't podcasting. It's not radio. It's not stuff like that. And so when I say the Shure SM7B wasn't made for voiceover work, I don't mean all the other stuff it's used for out there. I just mean voiceover. The voiceover studio that I work at, Atlanta Voiceover Studio, they did a video all about what is voiceover. So if you do want to learn more about what voiceover actually is, you can go into the description of this video and find that link to that video, and you can learn more. And lastly, audio quality, for whatever reason, is a really, really hard thing to get people on board with. There's a few different reasons for this, but here's the main one: ear training. Most people can't even hear the negative effects of a microphone that's used the wrong way in a recording. That doesn't mean the problem isn't there. That just means that that person can't even hear it. But here's the thing. If you're a voice actor, you're not trying to impress the ears of other voice actors or people on YouTube. You're trying to impress the ears of audio engineers. And it rhymes. Audio engineers have spent years and years and years on ear training and training their ears to hear very subtle differences in audio. And trust me, they will notice these subtle differences that you may not even pick up on at all. And because you're not trying to impress your own ears, because that would be very problematic, and you're not trying to impress the ears of other voice actors or people on YouTube, you need to go out to a professional and make sure your audio is up to snuff so that you can make sure you're adhering to the industry standards, and you can make sure that when you send your audio off to a client or an audio engineer, they're not going to send it back and be like, hey, we can't work with that. Just like with anything, to become a Mozart, a Leonardo da Vinci, a Michael Jackson, to become that good at something requires a lot of hard work, dedication, and training. And without it, you won't even notice the subtle differences, or sometimes maybe even not so subtle differences between things, which is why you have professionals and experts in fields that have trained and spent a lot of money and a lot of time and dedication learning their craft. A fellow voice actor may tell you your audio sounds fine, or an agent may even tell you your audio sounds fine, but that can be a really slippery slope, and I wouldn't trust them. Not that they don't know what they're talking about. They may very well know what they're talking about, but unfortunately, I've had this happen quite a few times where I've had a few students and even a few voice actors that have just been doing this for years and years, and they are some top booking talent, have said, my agent said my audio sounds fine, and it wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. And so you just don't want to rely on them. I always tell my students this, okay? Voiceover instructors, or even agents, they are specialists, okay, in voiceover, right? In how to deliver your read properly and everything, but they are not a specialist when it comes to audio. When it comes to audio, they are your family doctor. They know a little bit about a lot of things, but they don't know a lot about one thing when it comes to audio. So their advice is going to be very general, and it could be inaccurate. And they may not even know. Most of the time they don't. They're not trying to give you bad advice. They just don't know any better. Me, on the other hand, I'm a specialist when it comes to audio, but if it were to come to voiceover, like delivery, reads and stuff, I always tell my students, I'm not the person to ask. The person to ask would be a voiceover instructor, because for me to give you advice on delivering a read, I am your family doctor. I know a little bit about that stuff, but I'm a specialist when it comes to audio. So you always want to go to an audio specialist when you're trying to diagnose your audio and make sure it's industry standard. And then the last thing, I swear this is the last thing, has changed the way your audio quality in your home studio needs to be set up dramatically. The quality of your audio and your home studio needs to be so good. It needs to sound like a professional studio now. And that has drastically changed the landscape of audio quality for voiceover work. So if you want to learn more about that, you can watch a video I did on Atlanta Voiceover Studio's YouTube channel all about how COVID changed the voiceover industry with audio and the quality of audio in home studios. So if you do want to learn more about that, you can find it in the description. All right, if you've made it this far into the video and you're going to comment on my video and you want me to respond to your comment, make sure you start your comment with YKWTS. If you start your comment with this, it will let me know that you've watched this part of the video and you didn't just skip to the part where I'm actually talking about the microphone, and it will let me know that you've done your due diligence and you didn't just skip around because you know everything already. And if you did watch that first part, I appreciate you and I can't thank you enough. It means a lot to me. Now, everything we just covered was for voiceover work, but this microphone shines in a lot of different areas. I mean, many, where it's podcasting, vocals for music, or really content creation like this video I'm doing right now. It is a fantastic microphone. So we're going to talk about both now. We're going to kind of ping pong back and forth. So here we go. All right. Now let's talk about the gain output of this microphone. This microphone, along with many other dynamic microphones, were not made to capture really subtle, quiet sounds. They were made to capture really loud, dynamic sounds, right? There's a reason that James Hetfield of Metallica has used this microphone many times as his vocal microphone, and Michael Jackson used it on Thriller. But then there's also a reason that Billie Eilish does not use this microphone. Last time I checked, Billie Eilish used a TLM 103, which is a highly sensitive, large diaphragm condenser microphone that is very popular in the voiceover world, but it's very sensitive and can capture the subtle details of her very soft delivery of vocals. As a matter of fact, let's look this up now. Well, would you look at that? The microphone's self-noise is incredibly low, making it a great choice for Billie's brand of whispery, delicate vocals. As the TLM name suggests, the 103 is in fact a transformerless mic with a very natural, uncolored sound. I'll come back to the uncolored sound thing in a moment, but this should make it way more clear as to why Billie's not going to use this microphone, but James Hetfield of Metallica and Michael Jackson and many more have used this microphone. James Hetfield has a very growling, aggressive, powerful singing style, as well as, Michael Jackson, it wasn't growling and crazy, but it was still very powerful, right? And so it makes sense for people like that to use the SM7B because it's not a quiet, delicate tone or sound like Billie Eilish. Now, technically, you could say her brother could have just bought a cloud lifter or a FET head or a dynamite stick or some kind of gain booster and put it in between this mic and the interface, and they could have used this microphone. But we're going to actually talk about other things that make this microphone different a little later on that could potentially sway him from wanting to do something like this. You also see people like Joe Rogan and literally like 90% of the podcasting industry using this microphone. So then you may ask yourself, well, then why isn't it good for voiceover? And this is me letting you know that if you're watching this part right here and you didn't watch the beginning of this video, we already covered this. So either go away or go watch the beginning of this video. But to further clarify, if you're on a podcast, you're not sending your audio off to an engineer or a client that needs to make a national TV ad where the audio needs to be incredibly clean and professional sounding. It's just a podcast where you're telling awesome information or awesome stories, and if there's a little bit of extra mic hiss or noise in that audio, it's not really that big of a deal, though I would still not want it there. So anyway, my phone just vibrated. I'm not professional. Let's move on. Okay, and then there's also been multiple people that have commented saying,
why don't you just buy a gain booster?
All right, let's cover that, shall we? If you buy an already pricey microphone for voiceover work and then need to immediately turn around and buy a gain booster on top of that microphone just to make it perform like other microphones for voiceover work, then that's your answer. That would be like me wanting to play acoustic guitar, but I go to the guitar store and I buy an electric guitar just to come home and plug it into some processing and extra plugins to make it sound like an acoustic guitar. Why? I could have just saved myself all the time and money and hassle by buying an acoustic guitar. So you could have bought a Rode NT1 for $270, but instead you decided I'm going to buy a $400 microphone and then on top of that an $80 to $150 gain booster just to make this microphone perform like that $270 microphone. I don't get it. But if that's your argument, it's solid. And then there's people out there that will say most interfaces supply enough gain for this microphone to sound really clean. And to that person, if that's you watching right now, I will point you back to the beginning of the video that you obviously skipped, and you'll find out why that's not true. But here's a little hint. It's a little something called ear training. And let me just reiterate here, ear training is not easy. It takes years and years and years of hard work and dedication to get good at it. Which goes back to that theory, I can't remember the name of it, I'll just throw it up on screen right now, where people learn something like, they've just spent, 30 minutes learning something and then think they know everything about that subject all of a sudden. And if you spend like a good couple of months learning about that subject, you're going to get to a point to where you go, oh, I don't know anything about this subject. So, yeah. But honestly, voice actors, my whole goal here is to save you money, time, and pain and frustration. Seriously, that is what I'm trying to do. And then some people will comment that the microphone is made to get right up on like this if you want to have better gain and better output for this microphone. But let's go ahead and let's talk about that. All right, this microphone has a really colored sound. I mean, technically it doesn't, but it does. I'll explain. So there's a reason you don't see top studios like Disney, Marvel, Pixar, DreamWorks, just to name a few, ever using this microphone when they're recording their voice actors. I mean, really, I could stop the video now and be like, that's all you need. Done. Like I said, this just wasn't made for professional voiceover.
Go to the beginning of the video.
Now, the fact that this microphone has a colored sound to it is actually really strange, because if you know the history behind the SM7, you'll know that Ernie Seeler tried to design this microphone to have the flattest response possible, as in it would respond to all frequencies the same, all the way from bass sounds all the way to high frequency sounds and everything in between. They worked for a very long time and very, very hard to get this microphone as flat as humanly possible. But Ernie's team finally decided it was as flat as it was going to get, and they let it be. By the way, this is a very hard thing to achieve in a microphone, especially back then. What makes this strange is the SM7B is technically very flat. It is a very flat response microphone, as in technically it really is uncolored, not colored. The sound is not colored, it's very uncolored. So the reason this is weird is I'm going to jump back to what I talked about in the beginning of the video, industry standards. So this is a huge contradiction because this microphone is incredibly flat. And then you've got a microphone like the Sennheiser 416 that has a very colored sound to it. It is a very hyped sounding microphone on the high end. So it is actually very colored, while this microphone is very uncolored. But because the 416 gets used so much in the voiceover industry, clients and agents and studios are so used to hearing this microphone for voiceover work that has become the industry standard sound that they're used to hearing. And to everyone in the industry and to their ears, that is uncolored. And this is colored. So it has really flipped everything backwards and around in a really strange way. Now, we can thank Ernie Anderson for starting that because he wanted to use the 416. And then we can also secondly thank Joe Cipriano because he really made it prevalent because, you know, he's just an incredibly famous promo guy. And if you're in the voiceover industry, you probably know who Joe Cipriano is. And if you don't know who he is, you've definitely heard him and didn't even know it. So anyway, what happens now is a SM7B to the ears of pretty much everyone in the industry, especially all the top people, clients, studios, agents. This microphone sounds really dull and flat and just not interesting, whereas the 416 makes them go,
Oh, wow. Are you an angel sent from above?
Anyway, my point is, this is really flat and really boring to pretty much everyone in the industry. So put all of that other stuff aside that you might say,
Well, yeah, but you could just do this. Oh, yeah, you could just do this.
but the way the microphone sounds will work against you in this industry. And yes, technically you could say,
Yeah, but can't you use EQ and like post-processing to make it sound like a 416 or more like that?
if you give an audio engineer more work to do, trust me when I say they will tell that casting director or that agent or that studio, hey, we don't want to work with them anymore. They don't want more homework. So you can't be giving them more work to do and expect,
Oh, well, they can just make it sound like a
no. And just to help clarify a lot of what I've been saying, let me throw you back to the very first video I ever made for YouTube. This was back for Atlanta Voiceover Studio. The first video I ever made was why the SM7B is not good for voiceover. So I'm going to show you a clip here that will really show you how noisy this microphone is, even with an Apollo Twin. I even had people in the comments that were like,
I don't believe that you did that. You're trying to trick us.
I'm not. Why would I? What would I gain by trying to trick everyone here? All I'm trying to do is help you understand all the truth behind this microphone and really audio in general. So if you're one of those people that thinks it's a conspiracy and that I'm pulling a fast one on you, go ahead and leave. Anyway, here's the clip. Here's an example of audio recorded with the Shure SM7B versus the Sennheiser 416. Both are raw recordings with absolutely no processing on them. They were both recorded with the same interface, the Apollo Twin. Make sure to wear headphones so you can really hear the difference. This is an audio recording with the Sennheiser 416. My gain is at 12 o'clock on the Apollo Twin, and now I'm going to let you hear the noise floor. Okay, so this is a recording of the Shure SM7B, and I had to turn the Apollo Twin all the way up just to get it to the same level as the 416 at 12 o'clock. And as you're about to hear, you're going to hear a lot of hiss, a lot more noise in the audio because I had to crank the interface all the way up just to get similar levels. And I mean, of course, you can also hear the difference between the audio quality. The 416 is a much brighter microphone, where this is a much darker or warm microphone. But the main problem here is the fact that I had to turn the interface all the way up just to match the levels of the 416. So now I'm going to let you hear the noise floor. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, let's talk about where this microphone shines. I love this microphone. I use this microphone for pretty much everything other than voiceover work. When I teach my classes, I use this microphone. When I record YouTube videos, I use this microphone. If I were to record a podcast or something like that, or even live streaming, I would use this microphone. When I finally get to the point to where I start recording music again, I'm probably going to use this microphone a lot. It's a great microphone. The thing about the microphone is the fact that it has a darker or a warmer sound. It's actually perfect for long form narration. So what I mean is if you are doing podcasting or if you're doing content creation like this, like long YouTube videos or something like that, the SM7B is perfect because what happens is if you were to have something like a Sennheiser 416 or a Rode NTG5, those are very harsh, bright sounding microphones. So those microphones are great for like promo work and some other voiceover work because they really cut through a mix and people can really hear the clarity in those microphones. But after a while of listening to those microphones, it becomes very fatiguing to the listener's ears and it hurts. You may not even realize it when it's happening, but if you listen for a long extended amount of time and then you get done listening, you might notice later, why do my ears hurt? Why is there ringing in my ears? This is really annoying. And it's because those microphones are harsh, whereas a SHURE SM7B is a very dull, if you will, darker, warmer sounding microphone with a really flat response, and it's really pleasing to hear long form narration done on this microphone. Much, much easier to listen to. And yes, you can use EQ for like a 416 or a Rode NTG5, and you can make those microphones less harsh and easier to listen to. But again, most people don't want to learn how to use an equalizer because it's very daunting in the very beginning, and they don't want to go through the trouble. So if that's you, if you don't want to learn what an EQ does, how to use it, how to transform your audio, use something like the SHURE SM7B. It's going to be so much easier for your audience to listen to your audio if it's especially long form narration. But if you are one of those people that wants to learn what EQ is, how to use it, what it does, I'm actually in the middle of creating an online course. This is one of the things it's going to cover. I mean, it's going to cover everything you need to know about audio from the very, very basics to, really, really advanced. Everything in between you need to understand about audio, but there's going to be a really big EQ section. So be on the lookout for that. Now, I'm still in the middle of creating that, but it will be done hopefully sooner than later. So if you're interested, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. It means a ton to me. I hope this information was super helpful. Right now, I'm only doing one video a month, but my goal is to get to where I can push out one video a week. So please, if you will, consider giving this a share, liking, and subscribing. That will help me get closer to that goal, and I would really love to be able to do that. But remember, I've said it a few times, but it's worth repeating. You know what they say.